Young, and this is the third video in a series about why healthcare has become disease management. In the first video I tackled fibromyalgia and how I healed myself from it, and the second video I talked about autoimmune disease and how I'm managing that without modern medicine, how I'm managing that. I'm going to go into that a little bit more, but it was just sort of an overview of autoimmune disease. And this one, I would like to look at what are some of the systematic problems and issues that have turned modern medicine into disease management in America. First problem is, now that we have Obamacare, and that's supposed to be the be-all and end-all of our problems with healthcare, which it hasn't done. Why? Because insurance is the problem. So you cannot make insurance part of the solution because it's a big part of the problem. We pay the most for healthcare in America, and we get the least for our money, and we get the worst outcomes for our money as well. So Obamacare didn't fix the problem. Now we have other problems. The second biggest thing is the marriage of Big Pharma with the FDA. Okay, the FDA is a government agency that's supposed to protect us, the Food and Drug Administration. Currently, they protect us from nothing, except for things that probably actually work. If you are a big pharma company, all you need to do is pay the FDA, and your medicine will get approved. You can fudge your data. You can have small sample sizes and follow your patients for a short amount of time, and you can pretend like that actually proves that your drug is safe. And it doesn't. The way it's supposed to work is that when a drug gets approved, let's say Lyrica for fibromyalgia, for instance, the doctor's supposed to report back what the patients report back to them. So for instance, when I went to my doctor and said, I'm having problems seeing now because you gave me Lyrica, the doctor's supposed to go back to the FDA and say, hey, look, I have X number of patients with eye problems now that I've given them Lyrica. And then the FDA is supposed to track that and take it off the market once it damages so many people's vision. But doctors don't do that. And if they did, there's nobody at the FDA to look at that data or do that work because they've been defunded. So, systematic problem. Really bad problem. Okay, they go ahead and approve all of these highly toxic substances that are obviously been multiple studies proving that these highly toxic substances are hurting us, like a lot of the pesticides and herbicides that are in our food that are poisoning us. And then we go to the doctor, and the poisoning expresses itself differently in each person. So fibromyalgia, autoimmune disease, and the medical establishment is set up as a bunch of specialists. Each specialist is responsible for suppressing a certain amount of symptoms that you have. So they're not treating us as whole beings that simply are being poisoned, and that poisoning is expressing itself in different ways. So when I found out that gluten was highly toxic to me, and I stopped eating it, and I saw all of my symptoms disappear, I went back to each specialist and I said, hey, I don't have these symptoms anymore. And they asked me what I was doing, and I said I'm eating gluten-free, and they said, oh yeah, I've read a little bit about that. I said, well, I really wish you would have said something to me when I was begging you to tell me what I needed to do differently in order to feel better. What you told me was I was doing everything right, which really didn't make sense to me because I was feeling really shitty. I was exercising, I was supposedly eating right, eating balanced meals, and I was taking your drugs, and I was getting worse. So That's another systematic issue, is that you have one problem, you're being poisoned, and you go to 6 specialists for it. That's a big, big, big problem. So what can we do about it? Well, we can find practitioners that treat us like whole human beings instead of a series of parts. I don't think that doctors out there really want to break their diagnostic maxim, which is it's usually one problem. I don't think they want to be diagnosing their patients with multiple syndromes. I don't even think it makes sense to them. And I don't think they want to break their oath to do no harm, which they are every time they prescribe a toxic medication to suppress symptoms and not help someone get better. So, doctors need to speak up, patients need to speak up, and we need to reject that which is not helping us to get better. Remember, the FDA is not going to help you or protect you from anything. So, things are kind of backwards, right? It's not up to these companies to prove that they're not going to kill us with their drugs. It's up to us to prove that they are killing us. How is that fair? It's not. So for myself, the decision I've made is just to walk away. They're not going to help me. I mean, if you have an appendicitis, if you have a broken arm, go to the doctor. But if you have a chronic health issue that needs a lifestyle change, the doctors don't believe that you have the willpower or the smarts, quite frankly, to change your lifestyle. So prove them wrong. Join me and prove them wrong. Thanks. Have a happy, healthy day.